Week 11 of the college football season is in the books. We had a lot of chaos this week, and I mean a lot of chaos. Let's recap everything that happened. We're going to start off with Florida versus Texas, and my fucking Longhorns had an absolute beatdown of those injured ass, bum ass, trash ass Florida Gators. And before you sit here and type all these excuses, oh, Florida's all injured, Florida's all banged up, Texas has played nobody, shut the fuck up. Texas is, without a doubt, the best team in the nation. The best team. They will beat anybody. Anybody. I don't care if it's in the SEC, I don't care if it's in the Big Ten. If this game didn't prove to you that they have amazing defense, amazing offense, amazing special teams. I'm kidding. The special teams is actually not that good, which might cost them, but hopefully not. Regardless, the team is getting hot at the right time. They're starting to play the game that we need them to play, or I should say I need them to play in order to win the Natty. This is a best team in the nation. They are going to win the Natty. I have no doubt about it in my mind. Absolute flawless performance from them. Offense, defense, they butchered the Gators. Quite frankly, the majority of the Gators' points were scored in garbage time. At one point, it was like 35-0, 42-0, some shit like that. Texas beat the shit out of these Gators. Beat the absolute shit out of them. Great win for the Horns, baby. But we can't get excited. We have a difficult game coming up next week. Arkansas on the road. It's not easy. Don't overlook them. We need to get the W and go to the fucking Kyle Field and beat Texas A&M at the very last week of the season. But we're looking ahead right now. Florida, I feel like this Florida team is not horrible, but with all the injuries to their QB, to the defense, I mean, they were missing so many starters out there. I'm not going to take too much away from Florida. I believe they still are a decent team, but even if they were healthy, they have no chance. And I mean no chance against the Longhorns. Longhorns are amazing. Next game. I didn't predict this one because I didn't think I had to. Miami versus Georgia Tech. Finally, Miami got exposed. I mean, I feel like it was the inevitable, right? Miami continued playing this dangerous-ass game where they would fall behind and then make these miraculous comebacks. And against Cal, fine. Against Duke, okay. Like, you can pull this shit off. But once you start playing higher levels of competition, and what's interesting about this Georgia Tech team is pretty good. I got to give them a lot of credit. For the whole season, when the quarterback's playing, the King kid is playing, Georgia Tech fucks a lot of teams up. Don't sleep on Georgia Tech. And what ended up happening? Georgia Tech outplayed, but most importantly, outran the Miami Hurricanes. Georgia Tech controlled the time of possession. They bullied Miami on the running side of the ball. And yes, Miami did its thing offensively like it always does, but defense continues to fall short. This is not a top-tier defense. And with the way they're playing, now that they finally lost, it's looking like, assuming everything follows schedule, Miami is going to play SMU in the ACC championship, and that ACC champion is going to get that number 3 or number 4 spot in the college football playoff. And honestly, as of right now, I don't think I'd take Miami in that game. I honestly think SMU would be the better team to take. But again, we'll get there when we get there. Miami is on fraud alert. They went from undefeated to missing the playoffs real fucking quick. Like, they have to shape up their defense. Offense is not a problem whatsoever. Their offense is actually probably one of the best in the nation. I'd be terrified of this team if they actually had a defense. But in playoffs and big games, it's going to cost them badly not having a defense. Georgia Tech, I mean, you're not making a fucking playoffs, but you had a good season. Maybe you'll make a bowl. You probably will. Great win from Georgia Tech. I sure as hell ain't complaining. I don't mind Miami losing at all. These motherfuckers have been fraud all years. They played nobodies. I don't know. They played somebodies, but mostly nobodies, and have gotten away time and time again, which is bullshit. You can't not play defense. You need to play some kind of defense. And that was a great strip sack, by the way, to stop Cam Ward in the last Miami drive. That was beautiful. But Cam Ward apparently missed the receiver down the middle, wide open too. But that's what happens when the Georgia Tech defense gets through. Next game, Indiana versus Michigan. And I'm going to say by this game, I was surprised, genuinely surprised, how well Michigan played this game. Michigan I thought was going to get murdered. And they truly, truly kept themselves in this game the whole time. They had a couple chances to win it. But again, the lackluster offensive play, poor quarterback play, it overshadows how good their running game is. And that's why Michigan is 5-5 right now. They're horrible. To go from defending national champs to this is just an embarrassment, even though you lost a lot of players and coaches. But still, Michigan, shock of a season. I thought they would do better. And what's even crazier is that forget about Michigan. Indiana is 10-0 now. 10-0. This team is looking absolutely dangerous. Absolutely dangerous. And who would have thought, of all teams, Indiana is the one that's 10-0 and looking like it could run the table. Now, Indiana has to play Ohio State this week, and that could be a real problem. It's going to be a great game. I honestly genuinely think Indiana could win. Maybe I'm crazy and I'm really starting to lose my mind, but I don't know. Ohio State is not all that. I'll keep saying it. I truly believe Ohio State's fraudulent as well. If Indiana beats Ohio State, that would be so funny. That would be so funny, especially if Ohio State misses the playoffs because of it. Oh my God. But nevertheless, good win for Indiana. Not as comfortable as they would have liked it to be, but hey, not every win could be super comfortable. They've been dominating most teams this year either way. Now you got to get ready for the big game, the game that could change everything in everyone's season, the game that could change the entire Big Ten, if we're being honest. Next game. This is a great game. Georgia versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss put the absolute beating on Georgia. Absolute beating on Georgia. It was so interesting. Jackson Dart throws an interception on the very first drive and gets injured. I'm sitting there with someone who has money on Ole Miss. I told you guys I'm betting on Ole Miss. Fuck. It's over. The first quarter, first drive, and it's over. Georgia obviously capitalizes on the turnover, scores a touchdown, which, by the way, their only touchdown of the game. Let's think about that for a second. The only touchdown in this entire game that Georgia scored was the one that was basically gifted to them by an early turnover. So it goes to show how good this Georgia team truly is. But I knew they were frauds. You just didn't realize it yet. So, all of a sudden, Jackson Dart looks like he's out, and this backup quarterback comes in. I think his name is like Simmons or some shit. He's a left-handed kid, and he just leads Ole Miss straight down the field. Straight down the field for a touchdown. I'm sitting there thinking, is this a blessing in disguise? Jackson Dart getting injured, now this kid's going to come out here and ball? It wasn't. Luckily, or I mean maybe not luckily, depending on how Simmons would have played, but I'll call it luckily. Jackson Dart comes back and just beats the fucking shit out of Georgia. The Ole Miss defense locked the Bulldogs down. Carson Beck is horrible. Carson Beck looks like Sid from Ice Age if he was on crack. That's the reality. He continues to throw multiple interceptions, make horrible reads. If anybody drafts this kid in the first round, you deserve to be a loser because there's no way this kid is a first round talent. He is trash. Georgia's not good. They're now on the brink of missing the playoff. I pray Georgia misses the playoff. I really do. They have a tough game as well against Tennessee this week. And it's funny because in theory, the way it should go, you know, if we start doing college football math, it's going to be a little difficult to determine. But let's say they beat Tennessee. So they would have the same amount of Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Alabama would all have 2 losses. And Georgia, of course. Then it becomes like a gymnastics, right? Because Alabama beat Georgia, Ole Miss beat Georgia, but Tennessee beat Alabama. And in this theoretical world, Georgia would have beat Tennessee. It's a whole ass mess. It's going to be difficult to determine who's in, who's out. But hey, that's not my job. So as long as Georgia misses the playoff. Ole Miss, you brought yourself right back into life, right back into contention, just when you thought it was all about to end, that you are now in the playoff picture. Looking like if things remain the way it is, you're going to the playoffs. I always knew this Ole Miss team this year is going to be dangerous. I've been saying it. I kind of have been flip-flopping on them. Oh, they're going to lose. Oh, they're going to win. But nevertheless, Ole Miss came out there. They balled out. They did what they had to do. And that's why they beat the fraudulent-ass Bulldogs. Simple as that. And now, I'm just hoping and praying Tennessee goes in to Athens and beats the fucking Georgia team because Georgia is not good and I want their playoff hopes eradicated like that. Eradicated. Next game, LSU versus Alabama. Oh, what an embarrassment this was. What an absolute embarrassment this was. Don't fool yourselves. That 13 on the board for LSU is a fake 13. They had 6 the whole game. This is a garbage time touchdown after Alabama already pounded them. And what's so funny about this game is every fucking time LSU had a chance, they would just shit their pants. Turnover in the red zone. You fumble the ball right after you get an amazing turnover on Alabama. It's just continuous mistake after mistake. LSU flat out got outplayed every which way, defensively, offensively, every which way. But what's so interesting about this game is that Jalen Milroe didn't kill them through the air. He literally just ran all over them all the time. They could not stop this QB run, and that's why Jalen Milroe just continued to run. Why wouldn't he? I mean, is he a running back in quarterback disguise type shit? He is. But against an LSU team who can't defend the run, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you employ this strategy? It makes no sense, right? I mean, I had LSU in this game and I knew it was over instantaneously. Alabama beat the fucking shit out of LSU. And what does that mean? That now means that LSU is officially eliminated. I mean, I don't want to say officially eliminated, but the chances of them getting in this SEC is none, pretty much. I mean, there's 2 teams as of right now with 1 loss. There's, I think, like 3 teams with 2 losses. Maybe 2 teams, whatever it is. Yeah, LSU is not in a good position right now. If they make it, it's going to be a miracle. Absolute miracle. Alabama, you're still in control of your own destiny. Just don't fuck up and lose, which I don't think you have any hard games left in your schedule. I have to check, but, I mean, you lost to Vanderbilt, so don't fuck up and lose and you're in. But honestly, I believe Alabama's also a bit fraudulent. Kalen DeBoer is not a great coach. Milroe is not going to be able to run all over opponents the way he did against LSU. And Alabama may get exposed in the playoff. But we'll get there when we get there. Good win for Alabama. Great win for Alabama. LSU, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Brian Kelly, you are a bum. You should get fired. You do not know how to coach football games. Simple as that. Simple as that. Good win for Alabama, though. Next game. I think this is the final game. Yes, the final game. What an amazing game. I don't know how many people stayed up to watch this, but I had a lot of money on BYU, and I live bet them as well, and I stayed up to watch this, and good Lord, what a fucking game this was. What an absolute game this was. Utah and this third string quarterback came out firing. It was insane. It was like, what, 21-10 or some shit like that? And BYU just was getting outplayed every which way. Horrible clock management, horrible ball possessions. It was just horrible all around. It really truly looked like Utah was going to run away with this game. Run away with this game. All of a sudden, by the grace of God or whatever you want to call it, BYU manages an unbelievable, uncharacteristic comeback. And what ends up happening? Think about what ends up happening. It's 4th and 10. He has a chance Utah, I should say, has a chance to end the game. They sack the BYU, and what ends up happening? They call a defensive holding on Utah. BYU drives straight down the field and scores a game-winning field goal to win the game. Absolute scenes. I was ridiculously happy. 2 in the fucking morning, my bet cashed. But that's the name of the game. BYU flat out outplayed Utah. Who else are you going to blame other than Utah for getting completely outscored? Second half, they scored 0 points. And in reality, the only quarter in which they did anything was the second quarter. Utah sucks. BYU's not a fraud, but BYU's not great. They'll probably win the Big 12 unless they lose to Colorado, which would be crazy. But in either case, they're not getting past the first round, second round of the playoffs. No fucking chance. No fucking chance. That's my recap for Week 11 of the college football season. Let's see what the college football playoff rankings are going to be. And I'll see you guys for prediction videos coming soon.